What's going on, guys? I'm Thomas with Audio 46, and today I'll be bringing you something a little bit different. Instead of discussing headphones, we'll be talking about DACs and amplifiers. More specifically, we'll be reviewing the Mojo 2 by Chord, which has just received a price cut from $775 down to $650. Now, the Mojo 2 is very interesting because it is marketed as a portable DAC and amplifier combo. So in this review, we'll be discussing whether or not that portability factor affects performance and if this little device can potentially replace your more traditional and high-performing DAC or amplifier. So, let's get into it.
When Chord sought out to make a portable DAC and amplifier, they really weren't kidding around. Right away, you'll notice just how small this device is just by looking at the package. Moving on to the back of the package, you will see some general information such as a FPGA spec bump, an 8-hour playback confirmation, and another poly streamer compatibility indicator. When opening the package, you will receive your usual paperwork as well as a very helpful manual that provides a key that showcases what each color and button combination do for the device, which you will definitely want to hold on to. Now, before we take a closer look at the Chord Mojo 2, let's take a look at the micro USB cable that comes with the device. This micro USB will be used for input as well as charging the device. However, you may notice that this micro USB cable is smaller than an atom, so I would highly recommend using an alternative cable if you have one at home. Now, moving on to the Mojo 2 itself, I'm very impressed with the overall build of the device. The jet black finish does a great job of highlighting the Mojo 2 product branding as well as the indicator lights located at the top of the device. Moving on to the right side of the device, you will be presented with a suite of ports such as an optical input, 2 micro USB ports, a USB Type-C port, and a coaxial input. You will also be greeted with 2 headphone outputs on the other side of the device, which is convenient if you would like to connect more than one device to the Mojo 2. A design feature of the Mojo 2 that I feel drastically separates itself from the competition are the polychromatic buttons that will be used to interact with the device. You'll be provided with 4 buttons: a power button, 2 buttons dedicated for the volume rocker, and a menu button. The various colors that glow from these buttons provide unique functionality which you can cross-reference with the manual provided in the box, so like I said previously, hang on to that manual. Typically with portable DACs and amplifiers, the design and look of the device is cut back a bit to ensure portability remains a focus, but the Mojo 2 does not compromise within this department, with the clever use of its buttons doubling as function indicator lights. These lights will complement most setups very nicely, especially if you are a consumer that enjoys RGB lighting with their setup.
So it's been a long while since we saw the Mojo 2's predecessor hit store shelves, and with the product being discontinued back in 2021, many audiophiles and fans of the Chord brand have been clamoring for a replacement. And with the Mojo 2, not only have we received a novel replacement, but we have been treated to a far superior successor. Now, before I begin discussing the performance of the Mojo 2, I'll first explain the equipment I used to test with the device during my testing phase. During my time with the Mojo 2, I tested its functionality on my Alienware M15 R2 laptop and my iPhone 13 Pro Max. The headphones I primarily used to test this device was the Beyerdynamic DT880. When testing the Mojo 2 with these devices, I wanted to figure out if the Mojo 2 not only performs well given its incredible portability, but if this device could potentially replace your more traditional DAC and amp setup. And upon the first few hours of testing the Mojo 2, I wasn't really expecting much due to how small and light the device is, but to my surprise, I was incredibly impressed with the sonic and timbral character of the Mojo 2. When using my laptop as the first testing grounds for this compact device, I immediately noticed an impressively high dynamic response that was elicited from a more neutral tone that felt very welcoming. I feel it is with this neutrality in tone where we first begin to see the upgrades the Mojo 2 brings to the soundstage. For instance, this soundstage feels much more broad and expansive than other competitors on the market, which aids in delivering a level of imaging that is much more comparable to a more traditional setup you may have at home. This level of imaging is made much more enjoyable when you take into account the phenomenal layers of separation you receive when listening to tracks that are very busy. And speaking of busy tracks, a track I use to stress test this device is Todes Narques by Bajorquez. I'm so sorry if I destroyed that pronunciation. Now, if you are familiar with this track or have heard a sample of it by playing IO Interactive's Hitman Saga, then you will know that this track is actually literally insane. Seriously, I have no idea what's going on when listening to this track on most hardware. It feels like the audio equivalent of literal anarchy. So when I was running this track through the Mojo 2, I was hoping that this device might make some more sense of this chaotic song. And to my surprise, this device makes listening to this track an entirely different experience. Although still very hectic, this track sounds much more bearable due to the separation providing more dimension that is also complemented by the imaging, which felt just a touch more concave. In general, the Mojo 2 does an amazing job of bringing brand new texture to the spotlight on whatever hardware you may be using, which makes listening to some of your favorite tracks a brand new experience. This means you could pretty much listen to your favorite tracks for the first time again. This momentum in performance becomes all the more impressive when you remember just how portable this device is. Weighing in at around 180 grams, I was very surprised to see how the fidelity was still honored due to the precision of instrument placement that would normally be reserved for a more traditional setup. Additionally, I felt as though the presence of coloration within the sub-bass was well optimal, and the mid-range frequencies never felt cramped or cluttered, which made stress testing the device very enjoyable. The highs are also given a great amount of care, as the frequencies at this level felt much sharper than its competition. So how does the Chord Mojo 2 reach this immense level of performance within such a compact design? It's hard to believe that just 5 to 10 years ago that this level of performance would be reserved for devices double the size of the Mojo 2. But thanks to its Xilinx Arctic 7 FPGA, say that even one time fast. That reality is past. This field programmable gate array was developed in-house by Rob Watts, who is the lead engineer at Chord, and it is with this FPGA that gives the Mojo 2 a performance boost that is comparable to many traditional setups audiophiles have come to enjoy. The Mojo 2 also improves over its predecessor with updated WTA filters, which drastically improve transients and timing, which will deliver improved timbre and pitch overall. Additionally, the Mojo 2 comes packed with a lossless DPS, which will provide you with advanced tone controls without diminishing sound quality, which Chord claims is the first of its kind. This standard will also never shift due to the Mojo 2's UHD DPS, which ensures a wide net of compatibility with modern-day headphones, which is nice for those who may want to use this device with different hardware on a daily basis. Now, with the performance out of the way, let's discuss battery life. Now, I said it before, but I will say it again. This device is extremely portable, which is very convenient for anybody who is traveling or wants to bring this device with them to school or work. However, that portability will not matter if the battery life is garbage. Now, Chord claims the Mojo 2 will deliver 8 hours of battery life off of full charge, which is stellar, but within my testing, I managed to get around 6.5 to 7 hours, which is still great, but your mileage may vary a bit depending on what hardware you use the device with. However, an incredibly convenient feature that comes with the Mojo 2 that seriously needs to be adopted by other smartphone manufacturers is the implementation of a feature called Smart Desktop Mode. This feature is not only incredible, but it is also extremely consumer friendly. Basically, this feature will allow the Mojo 2 to retain long-term battery health by understanding when the device is plugged into a hi-fi system and then charging the battery to a level where it won't oversaturate the battery health over time, which will give you much more longevity with your purchase. The industry-shaking features don't stop at battery life though. Chord has also provided a couple of amazing customization features that will allow you to tailor your listening experience exactly to your liking. Let's start with crossfeed. With crossfeed, you'll actually be able to take a fraction of sound from the left channel and feed it into the right channel with a slight delay, and vice versa. What this feature aims to accomplish is to emulate a sound experience akin to listening to a pair of high-end speakers through whatever pair of headphones you may be using with the device. Another feature I was very impressed with is tone control. Now, the goal of tone control is to allow the user to precisely adjust EQ based on whatever hardware they are using with the device at any given moment. Chord provides you with 4 different EQ modes. These 4 different modes include sub-bass, mid-bass, upper treble, and lower treble. The customization delves deeper when you take into account that each mode provides 9 positive lifts and 9 negative cuts, which will allow you to tinker with your sound experience to a degree hardly ever seen with other products in this form factor. Now, before I close out this review, would I recommend the Mojo 2 by Chord? Yes, I believe this device is not only just an amazing portable DAC and amp combo, but an amazing DAC and amp combo in general. And although I'm not the first person to rave about this device, it wasn't until I got my hands on the Mojo 2 until I understood what all the hype was about. And although $650 can still be considered a very high asking price for most consumers, I believe the Mojo 2 can be looked at as a steal once you start comparing it to more traditional setups that consumers are used to. And although the polychromatic buttons have a bit of a learning curve, especially when trying to access certain software features, and the confused looks you may receive out in public when having this device linked to your smartphone, I believe the Mojo 2 delivers an advanced, customizable sound experience that will leave future products by competitors with some extremely huge shoes to fill. But hey, that's the review. I hope you enjoyed. And remember, if you wish to purchase the Mojo 2 by Chord, you absolutely can by ordering them from our website or visiting our store location. And for this video, I have 2 questions to ask you. What's your favorite DAC and amplifier? And would you ever consider purchasing a portable DAC for any given reason? Let me know your thoughts down below. I read every single comment and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. But until next time, I'm Thomas Schimber with Audio 46. Have fun out there.